to share some more of these notes from the Homewood Health Center in Guelph, Ontario. If you read the title, the Homewood Health Center, in my opinion, is the prison for whistleblowers because we're not criminals, but they just call us crazy and then throw us in there with a bunch of false accusations. So there was a couple of the last pages that I put up last night. I think this one was one of the last ones I looked at. And when I was on live last night, I guess I said that list of words and phrases at the top of the page there, I thought that was the backup login password for my atomic email account that I started when I was allowed on the internet briefly, but unable to do anything because they wouldn't give me my wallet or my personal information. So that's what I said it was last night, but I was wrong. It was a conversation with one of the other patients at the hospital, the one that lived at the Matrix. So yeah, it's like some ranting that she did. I think she wrote all this stuff down on paper, and then I copied her paper onto mine. I don't know. We're just bored out of our minds there. Let's see. There's a message from my father, substitute decision maker, removing consent to inject me with syringe of Abilify or other. That was one of the worst things about being there, is that the doctor, like I said, he picked Abilify as the antipsychotic he would give to me because it has an injectable format, unlike many antipsychotics, or it's one of like 2 or 3 antipsychotics that have a oral version as well as a injectable version. So if they prescribe that to you, then if you don't take your pills orally, then they can threaten you, or they will actually get the security guards to hold you down while they inject you with a needle. This says page 4, so some of my stuff is a bit unorganized. Maybe this is 1, 2, 3, 4. No. This is just a single page here. It says the Guelph police claim that they must switch off their body cameras while inside the Guelph General Hospital. I don't know when this protocol begun, but it is a very bad idea. Police who are not on camera feel unrestrained and more at liberty to push, shove, harass, and abuse their victim. All of the police who I encountered at the Guelph General Hospital had their body cams switched off. And there was a lawyer that I was leaving messages on his answering machine. I don't know why. Just something to do. The phone was my only way out of, or my way of communicating with the outside world. And it was a phone that was hacked, and you'd be having an important conversation, and it would start sounding staticky, or the audio would drop out, or it would just end. Let's see. March 17th, 10 a.m. Call to Nicholas. I have a CCB hearing on March 20th at 9 a.m. I have a certificate number from legal aid issued that was applied for by my rights advisor, Julia Washington, who called in sick yesterday. No lawyer has been assigned. Legal aid issued me a certificate when I called them on the phone Monday. Someone at the Ministry of Health told me that I have 2 files at legal aid that have been opened when I called Monday, certificates from legal aid. One applied for by my rights advisor and one applied for by myself yesterday. I'm still looking for a lawyer. You could be the lawyer. I have had no meeting with any social worker who was supposed to give me access to the internet. Everybody says no to my request to have the Mental Health Act printed. One nurse told me that Dr. Vazdev told them to not print the Mental Health Act for me. I called the librarian and she told me that she will print it and bring it here when she stops by on Wednesday with the book cart. Cost is 20 cents each per page. She said the nurse will do that, but the nurses say no. Manpreet, the nurse, will not give me my wallet to get money to pay the librarian. I also want the Healthcare Consent Act, Personal Health Information Protection Act, and Substitute Decisions Act printed. Meeting with Dr. Vazdev on Friday ended with us both talking at the same time for a minute straight, a strange word battle, and I have never had that experience in my entire life. Monday meeting with Dr. Vazdev ended with me reading him one of my large print notes that I hold up to the security cameras. The last page said, Dr. Vazdev also gets high on his own supply. He said that is insulting and ended the meeting. He started the meeting by refusing to read the letter that I wrote for him. 4 pages would take him 3 minutes. He refused to write his questions down on a blank paper. He said that I am paranoid because I brought my breakfast tray into the meeting. You think someone is poisoning you? He asked. I explained that Kirsten and Byrne repeatedly drink my drinks and nibble my sandwiches when they are unattended. This has happened at least 15 times since I got here on Tuesday. I have seen it. The women even ask for my leftovers or sips of coffee. It's all on camera. I don't know these women, so I have changed my habits to avoid the potential of contracting a communicable disease. Bringing my food tray with me is logical, not paranoid. They don't poison me, but it is still the potential of giving me a lifelong disease. It was because the one woman had meth mouth, really poor oral hygiene. Kristen asked on Saturday if I want to go into the washroom at Buck, but I can imagine that could end with me being charged with sexual assault, and I'd be Guelph's next Medias. That guy who was charged, they're always talking about this guy who got charged with sexual assault and re-released and re-arrested, and anyway, the guy who is reported to be a violent sexual offender, and I have no meeting today scheduled with doctors. Okay, well, I'm going to read this one, but I wanted to note that I think it was one of the first pages I shared last night. I didn't notice in the dark, but it has this sticker on here. Oh, I probably shouldn't have showed that. Is there anything? Yeah, there's nothing too personal on there. Whatever. So that's the sticker that they put on like all your personal belongings and all sorts of documents and different things to make it official. Anyway, that when I asked them to scan my notes into my health records so that it would be part of the files at Homewood Health Center, they all said, yes, we'll do that, but they never did. They would just give me a sticker and then pretend that they did. So let's see, March 16th, Monday, March 16th, Dr. Vazdev. So this is my note. I would write notes directly to him because our meetings were so unproductive that I was like, well, this is what you have to know about me, so I'll write it down, and then we don't have to have a stupid conversation. You can just read a more concise summary of what I want you to know. Dr. Vazev, you need to make decisions based on current events, you need to make decisions based on current events, not papers from my medical history that are 10 years old. I have been in Homewood for 5.5 days, so you have had 132 hours of video footage to observe me in Trillium 1. This is the most tumultuous and chaotic and noisy environment that I have ever been in. I have had many verbal conflicts with other patients. Other patients regularly attack me socially by invading my personal space. They regularly time their movements so that they end up walking 2 feet behind me. John and Steve are both very large men who I do need to defend myself from non-violently. I have confronted both of them many times and told them not to interact with me and not to invade my personal space. I have not experienced or instigated any violence, although I have been in at least 10 verbal confrontations, mainly with John and Steve. I have also diffused many conflicts between other patients. This proves that I am not a violent individual. You've accused me of being in a violent incident on Sunday, March 8th, but it was not a violent incident, and you completely disregard my description of that situation. For the record, Sunday at the laundromat, I did not threaten or intimidate anybody. The man who I confronted non-aggressively jumped out of his Dodge Ram pickup and yelled at me, "I will come over there and drop you." And then he began to approach me aggressively. I said to him, "It seems like you're the one who is trying to start something and are incapable of having a level conversation." There was no violence in that incident. I diffused the situation and even talked to that man for 5 minutes while we were in the laundromat a few minutes after the initial incident. A person like myself who is emotionally mature can begin a confrontation, non-violent, with a stranger, and then a few minutes later have a level conversation and have a positive exchange of information. You have accused me of behaving violently towards another person or are causing another person to fear bodily harm from you. This is not true, and I have not behaved violently towards anybody. If someone has feared bodily harm from me, that is not my problem, and it is not illegal. During our meeting on Thursday, you had 2 security guards stand outside the door, and you sat next to a security alert bracelet that you could use as a panic button if I were to attack you physically. So why am I to blame that you are... Excuse me. Should get some water. All right. Okay. So you sat next to a security alert bracelet that you could use as a panic button if I were to attack you physically. So why am I to blame that you completely misjudged me, causing you to take an extra security measure? If you were fearing bodily harm from myself, that is 100% your problem and is based on your false beliefs and misinformation. For example, John and Steve have caused me to fear bodily harm from them. They have done this by invading my personal space and making a habit of walking behind me only 2 feet away. That action, combined with the fact that they are both very large and muscular men, has caused me to fear bodily harm from them. But they have not done anything illegal, and they do not deserve to be locked in the Homewood because of these facts. If I feel threatened enough by these circumstances, I have the option of presenting my evidence. I have the option of presenting evidence to a court of law, and requesting that they issue a peace bond or restraining order against John and Steve. When that process is complete, they are legally restricted from repeating those actions. If they continue to invade my personal space and cause me to fear bodily harm from them, at that point, they will be breaking the law and they'll be arrested and sent to jail because they are doing something illegal. So if someone that I am unaware of has feared bodily harm from myself, then they can go through the legal process that I just described and make my actions an illegal act. There's some personal information on here I don't want to share, but it says meeting with FASDEV, 12:15 Monday 18th, March 18th, Wednesday, meeting with FASDEV. He says I am not allowed to access the internet. You need to schedule appointment with your patient so that I am prepared. What false beliefs he thinks people do not target me or attack me in any way. I never said microwave bomb. Sorry, this was a note that I wrote very quickly, which is why it's messy, because I was trying to keep up with the conversation that me and Dr. Vesdev were having, and he asked me, he said, the other day you said something about a microwave bomb. So can you please explain that to me? And I said, I never said microwave bomb, you dumbass. I said microwave burst. So go back to school and learn your science. And stop putting words in my mouth. Okay, so I never said microwave bomb. I said microwave burst. Bomb was his interpretation because he's stupid. Don't know. I have had very few confrontations with people in this community. He thinks I am I don't know what word that is. Yeah. This is another. What's this? I am aggravated and he thinks I have no reason to be. He says I cannot get online here. Broken promise. I told him he has cost me potentially hundreds of thousands in investments, which could be prevented by him giving me access to the internet. A real good reason for me to be upset. He says the meeting is over because I am insulting, but continued talking for 20 seconds. No ability to communicate. March 20th. Is this thing, oh yeah, it is working, okay. Let's see. 12. Let's see. Oh, 1Z. Started using letters to try and make this more organized, as well as numbers. Problem solved. 5:50. Fern pooed on the floor last night in the shower stall. So I had to choose between smelling poo all night because the washroom is definitely directly across the hall, and cleaning up poo with no resources, no gloves, no sponge, mopping or cleaning, which was just the shower head just spraying the shit off the floor. Because the nurses repeatedly tell me that cleaning is their responsibility. Or I think it said, I meant not their, because the nurses repeatedly tell me that cleaning is not their responsibility. I should mess that up. Jill said that they would not clean it and let the cleaning staff know in the morning. I cleaned it repeatedly by pouring handfuls of water on the floor until it washed down the floor drain in the shower. I did this before asking Jill to clean it because Many times I have asked nurses to empty overflowing garbages, give me sanitary wipes, wipe down the phone and the door handles, but that did not happen. They always say no. Then tell me I am disrespectful for asking them to clean stuff, and start an argument, and also threaten me, locking me in my room, turning off the TV, calling security. There have been 2 occasions when the nurse wiped down the phone or emptied the overflowing garbages without any argument, but every other time has been an instant conflict. It seems like the majority of my time here is spent in conflict with the nurses and doctors. Security has had little interaction with me, but at times they have been called on me, and I've had to verbally diffuse the situation before they are close to me. Some of them stare at me a little bit. Some of them stare at me a little or make comments about me, but overall my interactions with security have been neutral, and I have non-stop problems with the nurses and doctors. Let's see, March 20th. I was told by Guelph General Hospital staff that there is no psychologist on duty the night I was there. Why did the police wait until the end of the day to arrest me, so they could harass me all night and say no psychologist will be available in the morning? And like I've mentioned in posts, and the process that they go through when they give a person a Mental Health Act Form 2 is insane, because it would be so easy to just make a few calls ahead of time and make sure that there is a psychologist, like a real proper psychologist, not just some emergency room doctor, to assess the person that they're arresting under these the Mental Health Act Form 2. So they could make a doctor's appointment for me if that's what you're gonna do. Not yet. An Indian neighbor that just pulled up. It's no coincidence that they've been trying to get me in car accidents when I was driving over to this end of town. Now he's just gonna stand there and stare at me. But fortunately, I was gonna end this live soon anyway, because I have 0 views. And hey man, I don't think you're supposed to park there. There's no lines. See, it's not a park space. Now he's just waving his hand at me, being an asshole. Leave me alone, Indian guy. This is what they do in Guelph. Jesus. Alright, I think he's leaving. Okay, so what I was saying is that, it would be very easy for the police to make an appointment with a psychologist when they plan on arresting someone with a Mental Health Act Form 2. And that way, they don't end up bringing these people who are supposedly insane to the emergency room in the Guelph General Hospital and waiting for an emergency room doctor to make a mental health assessment, and then possibly having them wait around until the psychologist shows up in the morning, which was another sad story of don't have his name off the top of my head, but the psychologist at the Guelph General Hospital showed up in street clothes and with an unshaved face at about 9 a.m. And then 2 hours later, he was dressed in a collar tie with a shaved face. So he showed up to work in shitty clothes, looking all hungover, and then changed his clothes and shaved his face at work. That's the kind of professionals that work at the Guelph General Hospital. They're fucking insane. And I think they do that to make their patients nervous. Like when you're supposedly in a whatever, like a psychosis, having a psychotic episode or something, and you're supposed to be talking to a doctor, a professional, and they send some guy that looks like a friggin' meth head who just got home from a party or something. It really affects your psychology, and I think they do that intentionally because they did that the first time in May 2025 when the Guelph police arrested me. I talked about this on YouTube before. There was a guy who called himself the mental health nurse, and he had a big beard, and he was like 340 pounds. He was a huge guy, really tall, and giant belly, and he was wearing hospital scrubs that were like 3 sizes too small for him, so his belly was hanging out, and he was wearing a sneeze guard mask, and there was this belly hair in my face because his scrubs were too small. He looked like a crazy clown, and that was the guy who initially interviewed me to assess my my mental state. So yeah, I think these guys even dress up just to mess with their patients. Let's see. So this was something that a funny, well, I don't know if it's funny, I haven't read this. A legal document that I wrote and signed, my name, my signature, my date. And it says, I, Philip Hawken, do not give consent to anybody to contact my family members for any reason. Dr. Vazdev has talked with my parents at least 2 times while I have been at the Homewood Health Center. That is not a legal action, as I have never given consent for any member of the police, hospital, or Homewood to contact my family members for any reason. I have written letters on 2 occasions and submitted them to nurses and Dr. Vazdev in the Trillium 1 nursing station. Both letters made it clear that I never have given consent to contact my family. I am removing consent to contact my family now that I am aware that Dr. Vazdev believes he has consent to contact my family. Do not contact my family for any reason. I believe this copy was scanned, other copies ignored by Manpreet. So this is another document they said they would scan into my medical charts, and they never did. And then they tried to start giving me lined paper to make my notes ugly, and this paper sucks, but I went back to printer paper. So I held this up for the camera after my meeting with Vazdev on March 18th, 12:15 p.m. Vazdev had the option to leave the meeting room. Instead, he stayed and asked me to leave, hoping that another conflict would begin. He said he has another meeting with a different patient, but he lied. He did not stay to use the meeting room. He stayed to antagonize me. So he asked me, he said, I have a meeting with another patient, so you have to leave. And I was packing up my papers, and I said, well, I don't know. He was just like being confrontational, so I left. And then he left shortly after because there was actually no next appointment with the patient that he had to wait around for. He was just sticking around to be an asshole. held up for a camera during library cart visit around 4 p.m. March 18th. Vazdev has time to read a children's book to Michael. No time to prevent me from losing potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that was... I made this sign in like a minute or two just because of the situation that was happening, and I wanted to hold this sign up right behind Dr. Vazdev's head while he was reading a children's book to Michael after telling me in a meeting that he has no time to help me resolve my problems, like getting on the internet and paying my bills. And then he left the meeting and stood outside reading a children's book to a 55-year-old man. And I was holding this up while it was happening, and just, I don't know. That was just weird. Like, it's like he just likes messing with mental patients, because this guy Michael is in a pretty bad, has some pretty bad mental health problems, and he was standing there, he grabbed a children's book off the library cart, which happened to be there, and he was reading it to Michael, and he was like showing him pictures, just random pictures from this children's book, and he said, what does this mean to you, Michael? And I looked at the page, and it's just some stupid drawing with some few words on the page. It's meant for 5-year-olds. I think he just does that to piss him off. I might find a new location, because this live has had very few views, but I'm going to start up again right where I left off from this page. I still have a bunch in this stack here. All right, I will be back. Have a good day, YouTube.